What's going on, everybody? Doc from Average Gamer Guys, back yet again. A little bit more Resident Evil 7 action. So in this video, I'm working through, I'm actually very close, for those of you that are familiar with the game, I am just outside the salt mines, making my way onto the final boss fight here, and I'm running through this on Madhouse difficulty, and I figured instead of doing a guide or anything like that, because if you've played the game, the general game is the same, the flow of the game is the same, so you don't really need a guide for that. But what I do want to talk about is just some basic Madhouse tips that I found successful as I was running through this. Now there are some truth in lending up front. There are some significant changes to the game. The biggest being item placement. There's now more antique coins, and then the enemies. When you you're going to see some of the same spawns and a lot of different spawns, in addition to different enemies in different locations. You run into the fat molded a lot sooner, you run into the four-legged molded a lot sooner, and you run into the upgraded version of the molded a lot sooner. As I was working through this, I realized, some basic tips would probably be helpful. The first thing I'm going to say just right off the bat is my recommendation is before you jump into this, play through the game on normal, get used to where the rooms are, the layout of the entire game. Like I said, none of that really changes. And then just get used to kind of where enemies would typically spawn, because they don't. Wouldn't say that a lot of the spawns here will surprise you. Some of them definitely will, but for the majority of them, they're going to come up in probably areas where you're still kind of expecting it. Obviously, they're a lot harder. You take significant amount of more damage, and you also don't have nearly as much health, I feel like, in this mode, and you also deal a lot less damage. Now, with playing through the game once or even twice, my recommendation is to do a few things. One, play through it once, because you're going to unlock the Albert 01 pistol, which this thing is a beast compared to any of the other pistols you're going to get, minus the Magnum. I honestly think the Albert 01 is actually stronger. The only thing that makes the Magnum better is the fact that it can hold 6 rounds. This is only 3. I'll reload it here so you can see. So you're only getting 3 per. But this thing is awesome, especially when you can have it. If you beat the game once through, you're going to get this just for beating it. And you can pick it up as soon as you can get to the box here. So it is super helpful to have. The other thing I would recommend doing, and a lot of people, there's going to probably be some disagreement on this, because if you beat the game on Madhouse difficulty, you're going to get the option to do unlimited ammo, which would then technically help you probably significantly in doing a run in under 4 hours. I actually did the reverse. I did the run in under 4 hours. I beat it once, got this pistol, put it on easy, and then I actually am working on getting the guide up for my under 4 hour run. And I did it without max ammo, and I wholeheartedly think you can do that. So my recommendation would be to do both. Complete it, and then also get it under 4 hours, and then also find all the bobbleheads. You can do the antique coins through the first 2 runs that you do. That's totally fine. But the biggest thing is if you find, and additionally find all the files. If you do those things, you're going to get some pretty significant advantages for when you jump into this mode. I wouldn't recommend trying to do all of that at once, mostly because some of the files and some of the collectibles and stuff do take you a little bit out of your way. So if you're trying to do it under 4 hours, you might be a little bit strapped for time. So you might have to run through it twice, which is what I did and what I recommend. The other thing that's going to be the most helpful for you is going to be the circular saw, which is this weapon right here. The nice thing is it is extremely powerful. I would argue this is probably, in my opinion, this is probably the best weapon in the game. One, because you can do this continuous saw attack, which you're seeing right there. That attack right there, even in this Madhouse difficulty, is really great at taking down regular molded, and if you can get used to it, doing kind of a crouch and hold for four-legged when they jump at you, can take them out as well. Now, obviously, it's a lot harder to use this weapon, and you wouldn't normally use these melee weapons in a group fight anyways if you're facing 2 or more. But I've actually been in corridors where I do have 2 that are kind of right in front of me. I'm able to hit one. If you blow, you take an arm off or you aim towards the head, this thing will actually take them out pretty quickly. So being able to have this weapon, again, complete the game in under 4 hours, have this circular saw, is going to be hugely beneficial. The other things that you're going to end up getting through those playthroughs that is also extremely helpful is going to be the Essence of Defense and the Secrets of Defense. These two, as long as you have them and they stay in your inventory, when you go to guard, you're going to take significantly less damage. In this mode, even on Madhouse, I've noticed when I'm guarding, minus a few weird instances where I maybe take some side damage, if I'm doing a straight on guard and I block, I take virtually no damage having these two items, which is obviously huge in this mode because if you can play smart, you guard well, and then you can swap or keep out your circular saw, you're going to be able to conserve quite a bit of ammo, which wasn't so much a problem when I was running through the majority of this game, but once you fight Jack for the final time, that's where you're going to run into some issues. At least I did with ammo conservation, because he takes a lot of ammo to take down. So being able to use that circular saw, have these two items, protect yourself, is extremely important. Additionally, you're going to get the X-ray glasses. For those of you not familiar, as long as you have them in your inventory, all of the items around you are going to be highlighted. This is great because there are 33 antique coins in Madhouse instead of the regular 18. And honestly, the antique coins and finding them all in this mode, in my opinion, is even more important than finding them during a regular playthrough because of what you can get. So two of the things, and this is one significant change that you're going to see, as soon as you enter the main area of the house, you're actually going to have 3 of the bird cages open and available to you. One of them for 3 antique coins is going to contain the scorpion key, which is a lot different. So you're going to see, again, item placement is really changed up and swapped up for what it was on a normal mode. And they obviously put a premium on finding these coins because you technically don't need the scorpion key to complete this run and beat this game. But obviously, if you want to get the M21 shotgun, which is another one of my tips I'll talk about here in a second, you're going to need to find some antique coins and be able to pick up that scorpion key. But you're going to have 3 available, one of them being the scorpion key. The other 2 in that first main area, again, the main portion of the house, once you get the ox statue, you're going to have 2 others, which I've opened up already here, and I've had them since I could pick them up throughout the first portion of the game. And these 2 items are the Iron Defense Coin and the Assault Coin. They essentially do what you think they do. Assault Coin gives you more damage, and then the Iron Defense Coin, as long as you hold it, you essentially can take more damage. Now, I played around with this a little bit. I saw some stuff, kind of discussions back and forth on the forum. Which one should you get first? Honestly, it's hard to tell. So I took the Iron Defense Coin first, especially into the fight with Margaret, because I thought, I knew she's going to be a bullet sponge. It was going to take a lot of time to take her down. I wanted that extra defense. It's hard to say. I can't tell you if it helped or not, because I had it on equipped the entire time and I never tried to fight her without it. But honestly, having both of these and keeping them in the inventory definitely can't hurt. One of them is 8 antique coins, the other is 7. I can't remember off the top of my head which one is which. But by the time you make it through and get to that Margaret fight, I think you'll be only like 2 coins short from getting both. So honestly, in my opinion, as long as you're taking one of the 2 in there, you're going to be fine. As long as you're working dodges well, that fight, again, generally stays the same. Nothing crazy there. Her bugs are obviously a little bit more deadly, but the same principles as you would run through on a normal mode remain the same. So my opinion, again, as long as you have one of these, and then once you can, essentially before you leave, and actually I think you can get the other one pretty quickly once you get into the test area, because you find like 2 coins pretty quickly in that. You'll be able to pick up the other one. And I've had them both in my inventory ever since. Obviously, this causes, because you're looking at 5 items essentially that you have to hold that don't go into your auto slots. It caused me to, make a few more runs to the box, but I think that's worth it. And item conservation is going to be huge too, because again, like I said, conserving as much ammo as you can until later on into the game is going to be helpful, especially for me when I'm about to go run into the salt mines. I know I'm going to face a lot of enemies. I'm going to burn through a lot of ammo. So I want kind of that stockpile. The other big change that I didn't note up front, which I should have, is the saves. So now in the game, instead of going in and just being able to click on this, you need what's called a cassette tape, which some people talked about them being pretty rare. The point I am at, I think I saved pretty regularly, to be honest. And most times when you come across a save point, you're going to find 3. I've got 5 cassette tapes sitting here, and I just booted this up from a save. You can use these pretty well, especially right before a boss. Right after a boss fight are 2 good instances. If you have like a really good run through a portion of the map, you get a lot of stuff done, you open a lot of doors, you find a lot of items, you kill some enemies, and you generally don't use too much ammo or too many healing items. That's probably a good time to save as well, and I think you'll have the capability where you can generally save just about whenever you want to. As far as autosaves, those are essentially gone. You'll get a few when you transition from different portions of the map, and a few different cutscenes, but besides that, you're really not getting any. You're not getting any like prior to a boss fight. You're not even getting any post-boss fights. So it's really important to kind of make your saves and space them out in a way that you won't lose a ton of progress. The other nice thing with using these saves is once you hit a save, kind of make a test run through the area. If you end up doing it really well, awesome, you can kind of continue to push it. If it doesn't go so well for you, either you probably end up dying, which is honestly what happened to me the most, or if it really went bad but you somehow escaped it, and you think you could do that portion of the map or that portion of the game better, just reload the save and hit back at it. Because again, item conservation is going to be the biggest thing. Back onto the coins, again, you also have the standard 3, 5, and 9, which gives you your steroids, your stabilizer, and your magnum. Now, I have used all of the coins again. I bought these 2. I bought the scorpion key. I found all the coins, and right now I'm sitting at 15 remaining. So what I think I'm going to do here is I'm going to use 9 to get the magnum, because I do have quite a bit of the ammo for it, and you can see these little bubbles. That's what the x-ray glasses do. That's how they highlight items for you if you're unfamiliar with that. I'm going to use the 9 for the magnum. I'm probably going to go 3 for the other steroids, and I'm going to keep the steroids on me just essentially as an additional healing item, because it does pump you back up to max health. And then obviously for the final boss fight, and really through this portion, I'm going to want more health. So that's going to kind of how I'm going to set up and use the rest of those. As far as the rest of the items, the 3 things I really carried all the time were the circular saw, the Albert 01, and then also the M21 shotgun. So the nice thing about this is, if you're familiar with the game, you're going to be able to find your first repair kit still in the yard. It's not in the same place. It's actually a little bit off to the left-hand side, but you'll still be able to find it. So if you spend those 3 antique coins, you can go up, you can grab this, and you can actually use that repair kit on this shotgun right away, and you'll have the M21 shotgun, which honestly was absolutely essential for me during the Margaret fight. And then conserving ammo, this is kind of like my oh crap weapon. If I get into a situation where maybe I've made some really good progress and I get kind of cornered or I got kind of pincer moved, you're going to see that quite a bit in this, where they'll spawn enemies in front and behind you. This was my go-to weapon. Also for fat molded, this was the thing I would use just because it is so strong. So that was kind of my standard setup. And really quick, I just want to show you and kind of talk through how I ended up kind of conserving a lot of stuff. Now, I burned through all my grenade launcher ammo on the final Jack fight. Neuro rounds for me were even more important than flame rounds. And you're actually going to find quite a bit of like ammo and items that you can't really use right up front. And honestly, grenade launcher ammo was one thing that I tried to conserve. But a lot of the grenade launcher ammo I got, you're going to find a lot more separating agent than you normally would. You can see I have 4 here. I've used this a ton. I've gotten rid of a lot of my psychostimulants. I even break down, like I said, some of my grenade launcher ammo to get strong chem fluid, because you are going to get you're going to get a good amount of items, especially if you got the x-ray glasses on, but a lot of times they're going to be in their base states. So you're going to get a lot of standard herbs, a lot of regular supplements, a lot of regular gunpowder. You can see I'm sitting at 8 right here, and then even solid fuel. Now, solid fuel is one of those things that you do need to use a little bit, because you do obviously need the burner and burner fuel. But as you can see, once I kind of have fought through this, you end up having quite a bit of that at the end. I'm sitting on 1 neuro round, but you're also going to get a decent amount of chem fluid, which I tried to make a point of it to just kind of keep a couple healing items on me But if I ever got to like 2 regular first aid meds and was maybe making a third, I would kind of deposit it just to put it in the bank and just kind of keep it for a rainy day. And that seemed to work really well up to this point for me. Again, my saves were pretty good and I think relatively strategic, which is important. And like I said, just do some test runs through some areas because that really is going to let you know what's coming. It's going to let you kind of plan how you're going to go and fight that fight. And then where you can kind of push to before you're like, all right, maybe I need to go back, drop some items off, and maybe now's a good time for a save. Strong chem fluid is probably the biggest thing that I tried to hang on to. I would make enhanced handgun bullets because those are exceptional. But again, in a lot of the fights, I tried to use the circular saw. I think for the final Jack fight, I ended up running through about 20 enhanced handgun bullets, about 60 regular handgun bullets, quite a bit of shotgun shells, and I think about three or so of each grenade round before I finally was able to get him down. Now, my accuracy wasn't great because he does move around quite a bit, and all the enemies have a little bit more kind of staggered movements. They move a little bit quicker, especially the 4-legged molded. You're going to see those and be like, oh, these aren't that bad. They are absolutely brutal in this. I'd rather face the upgraded molded than anything else compared to the 4-legged molded, honestly, because they can take you down super quickly. And they will attack so fast to the point where, like, if you get a couple shotgun rounds off and you don't kill them, you honestly a lot of times aren't even going to be able to reload before they're still coming back to attack you. So they are a tough enemy to take down. But as I kind of just wanted to throw some tips out there for you and just kind of talk through the big changes if you are still working through this mode and what, again, has been successful for me. Again, the biggest thing being beat it through the first, run through it about 2 times, complete it under 4 hours, find all the bobbleheads, find the files, and just kind of try to finish it and get through it so you can get some of these additional items. Again, the handgun, your circular saw, your 2 parts of the defense, and then your X-ray glasses. If you can get all those 3 things or all those 5 things, honestly, the rest of it, if you're again smart with your saves and use your cassette tapes well, as well as trying to conserve some of your items at least until a little bit later, you shouldn't have too much problem. You are going to die a lot. I've died a ton. I think I'm at like 30 restarts or something like that. Mostly because, again, you come up to an enemy or an enemy gets a little bit of a jump on you and you're not fully prepared to take down that specific enemy. You're going to have some trouble because they are going to do quite a bit of damage. So those are just kind of some tips. Again, I do have all the base weapons, and again, a lot of this stuff is going to be in different locations. You actually get the grenade launcher pretty soon into the game, but that was one thing I don't think you need. You have it for the Margaret fight. I wouldn't bring it in there. If you use the burner well, you use your M21 shotgun and your pistol well, I think you'll do just fine. Besides that, like I said, find the antique coins, get yourself these 2. Shooter's preference on this one, if you're a little bit more hard charging, you like to go assault and try to kill enemies before they hit you, then grab this one. Otherwise, go the iron defense coin if you're more of blocks. I found blocking to be extremely beneficial. I was under the mindset a lot of people might say to kind of try to run past fights or just dodge fights. I don't think you need to do that. I think you can kill them, especially I found that helpful for their areas where I needed to kind of make a couple trips through. I would want to kill those enemies so that I could kind of have a little bit of free reign to go pick up all the items, make my runs back to the box when I needed to, and just again kind of try to conserve some of those resources. As far as the Mia portion, nothing significant there. That is a tough portion. Use your bombs well. The remote bombs I used almost primarily just to take out the fat molded. You're going to see those a little bit more. Especially I think on the second or first floor, you're going to see those wandering the halls, which are tough to take down. They take up a ton of ammo, and your machine gun honestly just doesn't do it justice. So use those wells. Beside that, though, if you can conserve items there, a lot of some of these items that I had, especially some of these first aid meds, a couple chem fluids, and 1 or 2 gunpowder and some herbs, I actually took from Mia's portion just because you can do a little bit more of dodging the enemies there. So hopefully that's helpful. Again, that was my setup. That's how I've been running through it. If you have specific questions or need help with a specific area in the game, feel free, drop me a comment, let me know down below. I've really been enjoying this game. Like I said, I'm working on and should have uploaded pretty soon my under 4-hour run. I'm going to do it in a couple different parts. Just if you're struggling with trying to knock that out, this will give you a pretty good guide. It's no speed run by any means, but it at least gives you an idea of kind of how I attacked it and kind of how I conserved and moved items around. But I'm getting pretty close to finishing this. I'm pretty excited. Again, I can't wait to actually knock these base achievements out because I am excited to get into some of the DLC stuff, which I know some of you have probably played already, but might be new to some of you as well. And I highly recommend this game if you haven't picked it up or you're looking at maybe picking it up. It's been a ton of fun. It has a lot of replayability, especially on these harder modes. So hopefully these tips were helpful for you. Hopefully they give you a little bit of an idea of what, if you haven't jumped into Madhouse, you're going to kind of expect. And like I said, if you have any additional comments or questions, or even maybe some statistical data on which coin between the assault and the defense one is better, I will absolutely take that. But like I said, I went defense first, and it seemed to do me well, at least in the Margaret fight. And yeah, so I'll kind of leave it there, but just want to throw a video out, get some tips to you guys. Like I said, if you have any comments, let me know down below. And as always, if you haven't, please do subscribe, follow us on Twitter, join the Average Gamer Guys Club. We got all that stuff going on, so good times there to be had. So I've been Doc with Average Gamer Guys. Thank you so very much for watching. We'll check you in the next one.